So as you all know, I'm here today to discuss the topic of to bid or to not bid for the city of Calgary for the 2026 Olympic Games. When doing research on the Olympic Games, if you were a city who was considering to place a bid, you would see a lot of negative press surrounding the Olympic Games. Things like billions of dollars in debt as the headlines, ghost town, legacies of the Olympics left for dead. This is a lot of the stuff that you'll see. So if I were in your position sitting there thinking, should I place a bid on the 2026 Olympic Games? My thought would be, why would we ever want to do that? And while this might be your thought too, I think I have some facts and recommendations that could potentially change your mind. I did some research on the past 3 Olympic Games, starting with the 2010 Games in Vancouver, the 2014 Games in Sochi were next, and then the most recent were the 2018 Games in Pyeongchang. Starting with 2010, excuse me, they spent about $2 million on the Olympic Games, going about $1 million over their budget. They're about $630 million in debt after a lot of their funding and hedge funds backed out right before the Games. The communities now pay a little bit higher taxes in Vancouver because the taxpayers obviously do suffer after the Olympic Games. And a lot of their ski and snowboard resorts or venues had to be shut down due to high costs of maintaining them. While these are some negative aspects, they did manage to convert the athletic village into condominiums, which is a huge source of revenue for the city of Vancouver. And the restaurants now remain open and are a huge spot for tourists when going to visit Vancouver. The sea-to-sky highway that was falling apart before the Olympic Games is now one of the fastest and the most used transportation in Vancouver, so that right there is a big plus for the city. Next, I reviewed the 2014 Olympic Games in Sochi, these being the most expensive. They spent about $51 billion on their games, $39 billion over their original budget. The investors for the loans that were given to the country of Russia for these games actually got dumped right back onto Russia because they haven't seen any of their money be given back after the Games because Sochi is just in so much debt. The Games caused actually a huge boom in population, however, so while they are still paying higher taxes and this country as a whole is in debt, Sochi has seen a 50% increase in their population since the Games, which is a huge plus for them. They still managed to maintain some of their ski venues as a ski resort, a casino, and then the stadium that they used for their opening and closing ceremonies was later used for the World Cup, which is also a big boost in popularity for the city of Sochi, which was overall Russia's goal when placing a bid. The most recent of the games, the 2018 Olympic Games in Pyeongchang, cost about $13 billion, around $7 billion over their original budget. Their annual cost is estimated to be around $9 million annually, with another couple million in environmental cleanups, even though they tried to be as eco-friendly as possible, which was a huge thing for them when hosting the Olympic Games. They used a lot of recycled materials when creating the infrastructure. They tried not to tear down many buildings or forests to try and make way for these venues, which was a big, big plus for them. The city does lack a lot of funding to maintain the venues, which some people have shed some light onto as a negative thing. They aren't maintaining their venues, they're letting them go to waste. But they did manage to launch an educational program that allows school kids to get hands-on experience and learn about Olympic sports for winter games, which they haven't had a lot of exposure to. So taking a look at these Olympic Games, we see that the biggest issue here is money. People are spending too much money. These cities aren't planning properly. They are wasting money on things and venues that they don't actually need when they should just be focusing on creating a memorable experience and just building what they do need for the games. Everything has its ups and its downs, its positives, its negatives, its benefits, or its consequences, and that's just the truth when looking at anything. So yes, you could choose to look at all the bad aspects, or you could choose to look at the gain in tourism, the boosting populations, more jobs being created, more schools, overall just all the good stuff. And considering the fact that you as a city of Calgary have done this before in 1988, you have some of the remaining infrastructure. You will have to build less. You would have to, you'd have it all there, so you'd be spending less money, so you could budget lower. And if you do go over budget, then you're still not putting yourself into debt as a city or a country as a whole. And I think that this is a really positive thing, and I think that that is why you as a city of Calgary should place a bid on the 2026 Olympic Games. I think that it would be super beneficial, and I think that it makes the most sense from your financial standing that you could do this. It would be a very viable option. So I thank you for listening, and I really hope that you take these recommendations seriously. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.